Hey guys, this is Rachel. So the best practice that I'm going to be talking to you guys with is CHAMPS. So first off, what is it? It's a classroom management system, and it helps develop an instructional setting where the students are more responsible for their work, they're highly motivated, and they're engaged at what's happening at that moment. Your targeted audience is going to need to be your entire class. You can't just implement it with a few and then do something else with your other students. Students with behavioral disorders and students that do require a structured setting with clear expectations are going to benefit from this, as it does provide those guidelines for them to follow based on each activity, and it's just kind of set out clearly for them to see and to look at and to go by. Materials you're going to want, you're going to need a CHAMPS chart first off. You're going to want a list of expectations and activities to put with each, and a place in your classroom that's really visible to all students that they can see at all times. The sign above, this one right here, the teachers set up their CHAMPS chart in a way where the acronym stays up at all times, and then the expectation changes out based upon the activity that they are going through at that time. This chart down here though, they have all the activities and expectations set up kind of together, so the student can find the activity, then look at the expectation, and go down from there. Down below, I do have some online resources you can check out. The Daily Teaching Tool has several free printables that you can use to go along with your CHAMPS chart, if you want to set it up in different ways. Some special services that I did think you should consider. So for students with EBD that also exhibit poor social skills, the teacher is going to want to provide direct instruction in replacement behaviors in regards to the CHAMP activity. That way they do know what's expected of them at that time. I think the student can repeat those directions that they've been given to show that they were listening. Then that way the teacher knows, I've said this, the student said it back, kind of deal. When the student recognizes that they are becoming emotional or thinks they may have an outburst, then the student and the teacher can have kind of a silent communication deal where they signify to each other that something's wrong, they can get up and leave, and that way you just don't disrupt the entire class and everything can continue smoothly. I think students with autism are going to benefit from this chart because it is set up in such a visual format, which is going to make it easier for them to follow and understand what's being asked of them at that time. The teacher should model the expectations through role-playing to help students understand, and I think that's going to be beneficial for all your students. To minimize distractions for the students, it might be necessary at times to seat them away from windows, doors, or other resource areas, just kind of where there's a lot of noise happening. That way they can really concentrate on the expectation, trying to show that behavior that the teacher has asked of them. I also really like the idea of a buddy system, so that each student kind of has someone they can go to for help, support, clarification, just different things rather than always going to the teacher first. Students with intellectual disabilities may require extra support for reading the chart and actually comprehending what's being said within it. So I think prior to implementing CHAMPS, the teacher should have a lesson where they do go through visual skills such as reading charts and scanning information to help them. That way the student can look at the chart on their own and be able to read it and follow it. The student will require supports to help access this information, so you might want your poster printed on some larger print, easy to see, no weird patterns in the background, anything like that. Some students might even need their own copy to keep with them, that way they can just kind of reflect back to it at different points in the day. All your students are going to benefit from the teacher demonstrating each step and expectations. That way you can clarify any questions that they may have. So your procedures. The acronym CHAMP reflects the categories or types of expectations that the teacher should clarify for students about every major activity or transition that occurs in the classroom. So this can be whole class, activities, small group, independent. It can even be like walking in the hallway or while they're in the bathroom, different things like that. So your categories or expectations. For C, that means conversation. So can your students talk to each other during this activity? If you look at this picture here, Most of your voice levels are going to range from 0 to 5, so like silence or when they're in small groups. H is for help. So how can the students get questions answered during the activity, or how are they going to get your attention? Do you want them to raise their hand, or do you want them to ask, 3 people before they ask you? A is for activity. So what is the objective of this? What is the end product kind of deal? This can be like, do you want them working in a group at their desk or by themselves? M is for movement. So can your students move about during this activity? Do you allow them to go sharpen their pencil or get a drink of water, or do you want them to work quietly at their desk until everything's finished? P is participation. So what does appropriate student behavior for this activity look like, or how do they know they're fully participating? This can be like when they've completed their assignment or they finish their test and turn it in, things like that. For some references you guys can go to, this is the daily teaching tool. I think I also have it in resources. Be sure to check it out. It does have a lot of free printables and just ideas of how you can use CHAMPS. This is our textbook that we have. It always has lots of information to look through as far as disabilities and what types of supports you may want to provide. The Safe and Civil School website, I think we went through that one in class just a little bit, and it's really the main CHAMPS website, so it has different ideas. Also, Pinterest is going to have a wide variety of just different ideas for your chart, how you want it set up, things like that. So there's the printables again, and then this is a teacher's blog. She talks about how she uses CHAMPS, how it's really benefited her classroom, and just different ideas. So be sure to check that one out as well. So once again, my best practice was CHAMPS. I hope this kind of summarized it up for you guys a little bit to better understand it. Thanks.